So she's having a glass of wine and we're cheering. That's her. She wanted to have a glass of wine to go in her room and she's sleeping and he came to see her.
Bear with me if I get emotional. Our mom never thought she would ever live to be as old as she did. She would frequently ask me, Mija, how old am I? I said, 95. Oh, that's old. Or, I never thought I would live this long. But those 95 years were filled with many experiences, a lot of love, and a beautiful life. She was born on October 27th, which is why we're having it in October, in 1925 in Parlier, California, to her parents Amelia and Ramon Hernandez. She had 4 sisters, Clara, Margaret, and Mercy, who's here with us today. And Vita and 1 brother, Gilbert. 2 are still remaining alive, Auntie Mercy and Auntie Maggie. After our grandmother became a single parent, she needed to earn enough money to support her children. Mom and her siblings were sent to LA to live with Granny's sister, Aunt Josie, and Uncle Antonio. Her aunt would sometimes take Mom to work with her, cleaning hotel rooms. Maybe that's where she got her love for cleaning. She told me she would have the same dream over and over, that she could fly, and that when she'd fly, she'd go back to Porterville to be with her mother. When she finally returned home, she never had that dream again. And that's something that always stayed with her. After finishing school, Mom found employment packing fruit in local packing houses. She would travel to Sunnyvale, Pomona area, with family and friends to work. She loved to dance, so in the evening they would have ballroom dancing, big band music. And one of her favorite songs was In the Mood by Glenn Miller. It was a song we would frequently play for her while we enjoyed a glass of wine and she would reminisce. It's also on the playlist. It wasn't until after the war that Mom and Dad would meet. Dad had his eye on her since high school. She was pretty and had a lot of boyfriends, but she'd always just say, oh no, they're just good friends. Dad would pass her in the hallway, try to catch her eye. She never looked his way. She would tell me she thought he was a square. Porterville had Porterville was a small town, and there were few Mexican families. They all knew of each other if they didn't already were family friends. It was at a house party, a mutual friend, that they would finally meet. After passing the evening away dancing, Dad asked if he could take her home, and she hesitated. But her girlfriend said, do it, because there was another girl interested in Dad. So she said, okay. She would tell me that she had admired Dad for taking his mother to the movies on Saturdays and to Mass on Sundays. He had finally caught her eye and had won her over. In June of 1948, they were married and shared 58 loving years together. Despite the heckler who drove by that day and yelled, "You'll be sorry." She loved telling that story. And as we all know, they were never sorry. Their marriage was an example of how a marriage should be. Mom was a hard worker and worked most of her life. She didn't completely retire until her 70s. She worked various jobs, 7 years with Rockwell Manufacturing prior to becoming self-employed, cleaning homes for over 20 years. Despite working full-time, she supported our school activities by being a chaperone on field trips, a room mother, a Campfire Girls co-leader. When asked if they would take in a high school AFS student from Costa Rica, they stepped up. Even as we became adults and parents, you would find them both on the sidelines cheering on their grandchildren that they loved so much. Mom enjoyed volunteering. This included St. Anne's Catholic Daughters, the annual American Heart Drive, the American Cancer Society, the American Legion Auxiliary, Senior Gleaners, and working the voting polls. She also stayed fit by joining exercise classes at the Porterville Senior Center. Her picture from that class made the front page of the Porterville Recorder, and it's running on the cycle inside. She's got a little hands on her hip like this. When Mom and Dad would come to visit us in Sacramento over the years, it would mean that our trees and bushes would be pruned, our lawns would be mowed, and my house would be cleaned. It was a treat for us to have them visit. They couldn't just come and sit. It meant, let us help you make your life easier. Mom knew what it was like to work and try to keep house, so this was her way of helping us. In retirement, Mom and Dad enjoyed camping. They would join the Barker family annual Memorial Day camping trips. They had at least 3 different RV trailers until they couldn't travel anymore. Mom loved going to yard sales where she became good friends with the regulars. She had a talent for decorating her home with her newfound treasures. They enjoyed hosting friends and family get-togethers. If someone didn't have a place to go for the holidays, she would be sure to include them. Their home was a welcoming place where company knew they could drop by any time. Visitors remarked that they never left empty-handed, leaving with fruits and vegetables from their garden, and if you were lucky, some homemade pomegranate jelly. After Dad passed away in 2006, Mom had to learn to be self-sufficient. From learning how to pump her own gas, paying the bills, and maintaining their home by herself, she was determined to do so, and she did. She blossomed. She had always been Dad's support, but now she was in the limelight. Mom was actually a shy person, but over the years, she had become more confident and very outgoing. I was really proud of her. In 2014, it was time for us to leave. It was time for her to leave her home and town that she loved. She moved to Sacramento to be near me and Steve. She again was determined to make the best of it. So at the age of 89, she began a new chapter in her life. She moved into a senior independent living apartment where from day one, she joined the exercise class, the yoga class, and with her newfound friends, she enjoyed going out to lunch and having an occasional wine get-together. In 2018, due to health issues, Mom was resigned to the fact that she would have to leave her independent life and move in with us. She was always so gracious and thankful. Not only did she bring her special wit and humor with her, but sayings too. So before long, Steve and I found ourselves saying, "Ay, Chihuahua, híjole," plus many others. We had many good times and laughs with her. At dinner, she would say, "I don't know if I told you this," and she had, "but I just want to thank you for having me in your home because I don't know where I would be," as her voice cracked. And we would tell her that we were the lucky ones to have her with us. Her happiest days would be when our grand dog Ollie would come to visit. And if he wasn't covered with a blanket, she would gently say, "Tápalo," cover him. That was the only thing she ever told us to do. The month before she passed away, most of the family came to visit and say their goodbyes. Some stood outside her bedroom window and talked using their cell phones. Some came inside, masked up and keeping their physical distance. She was so happy that weekend. She kept repeating how glad she was that the family was finally together. That was important to her. Her family was important to her. But because of COVID, we hadn't been able to gather. It also prevented her from seeing her sisters one last time. So we made the best of it and did a few FaceTime calls. She would always say, "I love my sisters." The week before she passed, Lauren went into her room with a glass of wine to sit and visit with her. Mom looked at her and said, "Where's my wine?" It surprised us because she really hadn't had wine for a while. So Steve, Javi, and I went in with our wine and sat and listened to her reminisce one more time. We enjoyed one last glass with our Chonita, and that was her nickname of endearment. And that's another story. Mom rarely complained, and I know it wasn't easy for her to leave her home and the town she loved. She was unselfish and self-sufficient for as long as she was able to be. Up until a few months before she passed, she was still trying to make her bed and dress herself despite her breathing difficulties. She still cared about how she looked, and if she passed a mirror, she would stop and fix her hair. She always knew how to brighten someone's day and make them feel loved. She treated everyone with kindness and respect. She always saw the bright side to any situation. Her outlook on life was inspiring, and she embraced each day with determination and optimism. I miss our wine time together and hearing her reminisce about the past. We could talk about anything. She was my best friend, and she'll be missed. Love you, Mom.
My name's Nick, and this is Lauren. We're the Nana's grandkids. I'm just gonna read this, makes it easier. Before we were old enough to tell time, we used to ask our parents on our way to Nana and Tata's, how many more full houses until we get to Nana and Tata's? Driving down 99. We were always full of anticipation and excitement. Whenever we would pull up, Nana would have the red apple filled with cookies. Yep. Chocolate chip, yep. Our favorite. Some of the other foods that she would always have for us: grilled cheese, honey nut Cheerios for breakfast in the morning. And in the summers, we would spend a lot of our times building forts in the trees and also at night, catching up on all the cable TV shows. Our favorite times were spending Christmas mornings with Nana and Tata. We'd wake up early to open presents and wait for our cousins to arrive. Each time we had to go home, we'd cook a giant breakfast and we'd call it our family breakfast. With chorizo, papitas, and fresh squeezed orange juice. That was our favorite. Also the pomegranate jelly as well, with our biscuits. You want to go?
For someone who didn't cook, many of our memories with Nana are wrapped up in food. We never left Porterville without a trunk full of produce or boxes of Gleaner's goods that were about to expire. We always wished we could live closer to Nana. So when she moved to Sacramento in 2014, it was a dream come true. We could see her anytime we wanted to. The pandemic was a blessing in disguise because Mom got to stay home without worrying about missing out on anything. And I got to work from home, from their house, and help her take care of Nana. And she was very gracious. I would come in to help her, and she'd compliment my pajamas or my leggings, and I'd tell her I'd get her some. She was always worried that you look tired at 2 a.m. wake-ups with her. Oh, you're gonna be tired. She was a pleasure to take care of. She never had anything bad to say about anyone, and she never complained. even with her aches and her pains, she was always a light. And she was wonderful to have around. We took trips with her when she was in good health. We went to San Diego, Disneyland at 81. She walked the entire park. She was incredibly strong. She went to San Diego Stone Brewery, and she was the oldest person there. She was not happy about that. But like we kept telling her, you were also the coolest person here. And there's a great picture of her over there from Stone Brewery with a full moon in the background. She thought that was a great experience. But we enjoyed having her in Sacramento. We were always jealous of our cousins who got to see her so much more than we did. So it was a pleasure to have her for those last few years. At 3 p.m. every day, she would have her glass of wine with her Dr. Phil and her little crackers with pimento. So, and we would say that's the key to life. Her long life was her one glass of wine every day and her cheese and crackers. It was a really blessing at the end. So many of our cousins couldn't be there because of COVID. So I felt really blessed to have that time with her. So I will miss you, Chonita. Next time you have a glass of wine, raise it for Dana.
Hello, everybody. I'm Javi. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Lauren's husband. And I kind of wanted to share, I have a lot of beautiful memories with Nana, but I kind of wanted to, from my perspective, just share just a few of them. Especially towards the beginning, as I started showing up to family gatherings with Lauren. Nana was always very welcoming. She would always reach out to me and make sure that there was stuff in the fridge that I could take or have. And like Lauren mentioned, she would always send us home with stuff. A lot of it was Gleaner stuff. Some of it expired, as Lauren mentioned. Some of it was close to expiring, but she kept it in the freezer, which even the milks, which I thought was interesting, but she would always still offer it to us. But my favorite was when she would offer us stuff from her backyard. If you were lucky enough, you took home boxes of avocados over the years, and I think to this day, those are probably my favorite avocados ever. I've never been able to find an avocado like that. So the next thing I want to talk about is, so Nana was just a very kind soul. And I want to talk about my parents a little bit because she was very fond of them. And they were very fond of her. And she would always take the time to ask how they were. Whenever I would come visit, I would say, "Good morning, Nana." She would be like, "Hi, mijo." And then she would ask about my parents. "How are your folks doing?" And I thought that was very kind of her. She would always take time out of her day just, to ask about them. So that really warmed my heart. She was also kind of progressive in some ways. I remember whenever we would visit, Lauren and I would visit Nana's house, we were not allowed to sleep in the same room together, even though we'd been living together for years. And that wasn't because of Nana, actually. Nana was the one who gave us the blessing to finally be able to sleep in the same room together. You can talk to Donna about that later. And lastly, yeah, you heard Lauren mention Ollie. So Ollie was Nana's favorite great-granddog. Sorry, Bruce, if you see Bruce over there. But it always warmed my heart how she came to love Ollie so much. In the beginning years of Ollie's life, she would always see us interact with Ollie and be like, "Oh my, they sure love that little dog, don't they?" And then towards Ollie's later years, a few years ago, she started. You could hear her saying, "Boy, I sure love that little dog." So I thought that was pretty cute, and it always warmed my heart because, like Donna said, her face would just light up every time Ollie would come visit. So that was awesome. And Ollie was never uncovered with a blanket while Nana was around because that was a big no-no. But I think just being new to the family many years ago, just the way she was so welcoming, I think is kind of a testament to the beautiful person she was. Right? She was always very welcoming with everybody, very caring. And she took time to get to know you and ask about you and your family. So if you have a glass, I'd love to raise a glass, a celebratory glass, to the beautiful person Nana was. Cheers.
Good afternoon. I know. I knew it. I'm reading a paper from my daughter Alyssa, sharing her memories. For those of you that are here that did not get the pleasure of meeting or knowing Nana, you missed out. Nana was a woman that made so much possible in all of our lives. She is the reason you see every single face around you, all the people you love, and all the people you call family. Nana and Tata created our family that has grown, includes many people. She taught us by her actions what was needed to be a beautiful soul, inside and out. She cared so much for everyone she encountered. You learned how to treat others with compassion. She taught us how to love and to forgive unconditionally. She taught us family is the most important aspect of your life and to treasure time we have. I was lucky enough to get bonus time my entire childhood with Nana and Tata. I spent countless summers, school breaks, and later every other weekend with them. I would never forget all those years having all of us crammed in the back room to watch TV, setting up for in the living room and under dining room tables, large shed out back, trees along the side of the property. As children, Lauren, Tara, and I would use Nana's jewelry to dress up using her clip-on earrings, large necklaces, and bracelets. Later, as teenagers, Tara and I would borrow Nana and Tata's shirts on a regular basis. I will never forget incorporating a red button-up blouse of Nana's with a fishnet shirt to go to a punk concert. Nana wishing Tara and I farewell to go that concert, smiling at what I can only imagine her thoughts were. As an adult, I realized I got so much more from her. have her slender, small hands, beautiful nails, small feet, curly, thick hair, small structure, love for plants, various personalities, traits, and love for her children. We often say that woman is our family long lives, but the sassiness comes with the years. I can only hope to live such a beautiful, long life, but Chase and Silas worry about how feisty I might be. But when that day comes, they will be sure to remember who I got it from, and they will smile. She finally got to go home to be with Tata, and after 95 years, surrounded by people that loved her and people she loved, we got to say goodbye to her, and she left the world knowing how much she meant to everyone, and I couldn't have asked for any better way for her to leave us. Thanks to my dad, Bethany, who is reading this for me when I can.
Well, being the oldest had its privileges. Right, Donna? Yep. There was no hesitation on that one, was there? The things I remember most about Mom is I remember the times that she worked at Rockwell, and she would come home, and what she did at Rockwell was not a pleasant job. Her fingers were always cut, and she was handling metal, and she'd have these fine cuts on not only her fingertips, but on her palms and the back of her hands. And I remember her standing there at the sink washing dishes after a hard day and not complaining about the pain that she would feel from. You've had the cuts, and you know what I'm talking about. And she would do that on day in, day out basis. It's something that I look back and I think about, and she didn't complain. My mom, she never complained. As Donna said, she's always looking for the best things in people. And she never talked bad about people. She's always had a positive attitude. I remember the holidays when, remember Harry would not have a place to stay, and she would just call him up and says, "Come on over. Don't worry about it. We'll take care of you." And that was Mom. She was always looking out for everybody else except for herself. But she did take care of herself. But through the process, she instilled in us to look after others. They took in Hank when he was a foreign exchange student. Didn't work out in another home. They called him up and asked him if they would take him, and they had no hesitation. They took Hank, and even in our own marriage life with Laura and I, we have taken in kids as well. It's kind of, and as I look back on it, we just automatically did it because it was the best thing for that person at that particular time. Mom was a hard worker, and I remember times on the, if you remember the old ranch, the greenhouse, guys? We'd have an outside porch that was enclosed, and she would be back there. I remember times plucking a chicken for dinner, and or washing the clothes on that outside in the cold. And those are things just mom did. She was a room mother to me, as a den mother when I was a Cub Scout. She was always at functions. She was always involved in some way in our lives, as well as Dad was involved in our lives. But I think one attribute about Mom is that she was always conscious about other people, not only about herself, but other people. And that was a trait that I think that we have instilled within our hope that the Gonzalez family, that we just don't look after ourselves, but we look toward the others and the best of others as well. Later in life, she would say, I couldn't go to sleep because you weren't home yet. Moms, are you recognizing that? That she may not have been praying a lot, but she stayed up a lot, waiting for Yo to come home. And as soon as I came home, she got to sleep. Whether it be at 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock, maybe midnight, then she would fall back asleep. Was that for you too, Donna? No. Okay, then I'm privileged. But anyway, those are things that I remember as mom, she had that worry in her heart for her children. And that was a great attribute to have. So, in tribute to mom, we look at our lives trying to reflect what she does. And one of the things she did, she volunteered. And she was always involved with the Catholic Daughters at the Catholic Church. She was involved with Gleaners, and she was also involved with the people at the, what's that center? Senior Center. She always involved in doing something, but she had to have her nap. She did have to have her nap, and she takes after me. So, in that respect, a lot of the things that we want to take away from today is the cards reflect something that mom did, and that was to help others and to volunteer. So through that part, we would encourage you to find some way in which you yourselves can volunteer to help other people.
When I first got to Porterville, it was a huge culture shock for me. It was, I'd been living in Fresno, really independent. And so she just took me in and she goes, well, one thing I want you to know is I don't want to be that kind of mother-in-law. So you tell me if I am. And I'm like, well, what kind of mother-in-law? And she was the best mother-in-law. I was just like her kid. And she just helped our family when our family was we had kids all of a sudden. She helped us with food, with clothes, with taking care. She was always there and just would make me laugh a lot of times because that's who she was, right? And so one funny one though, they had a pool in the backyard, probably mostly for me because I was always complaining about the heat. And so we had this pool and she was it's a doughboy, right? And it's only up to about here on me. And so we're in there, she's in there cooling off, and all of a sudden she loses her grip and starts to go under. And she's just flailing around, and I'm like, you know how you panic at first? And I go, stand up, just stand up. And she goes, oh my gosh, all I had to do was stand up. So that was a funny one. That was one funny one. And that's why, because everybody has said all the other great things about her. But I will say that about my mom. She was very, very good with my mom, always inviting my mom over for every holiday. And my brother came, and he was in a really tough time in his life. It was at Christmas. And she said, well, he has to have gifts. So she went out and bought socks and got him all wrapped up for my brother. And he still remembers. I just said that when we saw him in Michigan this last time. But I just want to thank the whole family because I don't think that we could, Dave and I had so much support from her. Okay, one last funny one now. I was so terrible in Porterville. They wanted to impress me on this ranch thing because David worked on a ranch. So they slaughter animals, right? I did not come from that kind of life. And so the first time I saw it, I nearly died. And then we did this pig, right? And David brings all these sheets home in his truck. And they just stink. I'm like, oh my gosh. And I called her and I said, what do I do? She goes, oh, it's your turn to wash them. You'll have to do it. What? She goes, oh yeah, we just take turns if we're sharing the pig. It's your turn to wash them. I go, do I touch them? And she started laughing. She goes, you have to touch them to wash them. So I had to learn a lot of stuff, but I just so thankful and everything everybody else said for such a great kindness. But that is one thing, somebody was kidding around being old and people taking care of you. And that's what I do want to be like, is that grateful. Everything you did for her was stop. I'm grateful to you, not you grateful to me. I'm just so grateful how everyone treats me. So a tip for all of us, when you feel grouchy, think of Florence. Don't be grouchy.
I'm Flory. My real name is Florence. I was named after Florence. Originally, when I was born, my name was Roseanne. And on the third day of my life, my dad walked into the hospital room and asked how Roseanne was. And my mom shook her head and said, nope, her name is Florence. And Donna, you shared with me how your mom felt when she found out how how, I don't know, moved she was. But that's how much she was loved by our family. And we would spend every family vacation in Porterville. And I don't think I ever got out of the pool. But we would also come home with carloads of fruits and vegetables and go to Strathmore and visit everybody. And my dad was, I don't know, sometimes cold or not as social, but not around the family in Porterville. He couldn't get enough, and thank goodness for that, because we got to benefit from that. And we have so many cherished memories being at your house. And I remember one time your dad told Robbie that if he could hold the egg in the center of the palm of his hand and squeeze it and break, that he could have the stereo. He tried and tried and tried. Do you remember that, Robbie? And you kept saying, it has to be done, it has to be done. And your mom couldn't stop laughing. But that was so much fun. And the one thing that I remember the most about your mom and dad was how much they adored each other. And even after your dad passed away, every time she found pennies on the ground, she would thank her baby for helping her find them so she could donate all those coins to the shelter. But with that, I wanted to share a poem. It's called To Those I Love by Isla Paschal Richardson. If I should ever leave you, whom I love, to go along the silent way, grieve not, nor speak of me with tears, but laugh and talk with me as if I were beside you there. I'd come, could I find a way, but would not tears and grief be barriers? And when you hear a song or see a bird I loved, please do not let the thought of me be sad, for I am loving you just as I always have. You were so good to me. There are so many things I wanted still to do, so many things to say to you. Remember that I did not fear. It was just leaving you that was so hard to face. We cannot see beyond, but this I know. I loved you so. 'Twas heaven here with you. When I must leave you for a little while, please do not grieve or shed wild tears, and hug your sorrow to you through the years. But start out briefly with a gallant smile, and for my sake and in my name, leave on and do all things the same. Feed not your loneliness on empty days, but fill each waking hour in useful ways. Reach out your hand in comfort and cheer, and I in turn will comfort you and hold you near. And never, never be afraid to die, for I am waiting for you in the sky.
Well, I mean, I am the favorite. Also, I thought until I heard Nana talk to everybody else, and Mijo, you're my favorite. Mija, you're my favorite, and I realized I wasn't the favorite. So. Oh well. I'm Matt. I'm David and Laura's oldest son. This is the youngest one. Nana and I had a very special relationship when I was growing up. Spent a lot of time over there mowing the lawn, watching football in the back room, and my tata used to always call my Nana, honey, honey, whenever he wanted anything. So he would yell, honey, and we'd be in the back, and she's like, what? And she's like, what do you want to eat? Quesadillas. So it was quesadillas, and we'd watch Niners football, Giants baseball, and I'd fall asleep on the little day bed that was in the back room, if you guys remember, the very back room on the right, across from Nana and Tata's. That was my favorite room. Spent a lot of time there with them, and Nana, when Tata passed away, it was a tough time, but I was tasked with staying with her for 3 or 4 days, 5 days, I think. And I got my wisdom teeth out. And right after my wisdom teeth out, I had pills for the pain and stuff. And I go to their house to stay with her. And I'm laying on the couch. I'm in pain. I'm out of it. I'm not trying to do anything. It's summertime. It's hot. And she's like, Mijo, we have leaves. We gotta rake up. And I was like, sweat is coming off my face. I'm like, Nana, I don't know if that's a good idea. And she was just a very task-oriented person. So this had to be done, okay? I'm not getting out of it. I might get fed out of it, but that's about it. So I just remember I have blood like gauzes in me. And I'm out there just raking leaves. And I'm like, all right, Nana, leaves are done, I can get out of here. And she's like, no, mijo. We have this and this and this and this and this. And I just remember sweating bullets, and she was so determined to get this stuff done. I'll never forget that about her. But I was glad to be there with her to help, and she took care of me. And I think I did a good job taking care of her in that time of her life where it was a tough time for her. And then when she moved to Sacramento, I already lived in Sacramento, so we got to spend a lot of time with her. And then my son, Caden, got to spend a lot of time with her in her apartment. And we were so proud of her because, she's on J and 25th. So in Sacramento, that's like middle of downtown. It's like, I would love to live there at any time in my life. And she's in this high-rise apartment building with all these people. And she was just so proud of herself, and we were so proud of her. And I just had to share those 2 stories of my Nana. I love her so much, and love you, Nana.
I'm Chris. I'm the youngest, Dave and Laura's youngest. This last time I got to see Nana was special. I unfortunately wasn't able to make it down when the rest of the family did. So I went ahead and one-day tripped it. I headed down there, and Nana had a fantastic afternoon. And it was such a sweet way to say goodbye. I am privileged enough to be one of the few I think she scolded openly because I talked bad about Porterville in front of her. And she would not have it. And she let me know she wouldn't have it. And I love that about her, even then. But all the memories, like everyone mentioned, that apple on the counter, all of us falling asleep in the living room. And her Nana was always in the kitchen doing something. Like, she was never in there watching with us. And then at the end, so many afternoons sitting on the patio. And they told so many stories that I know as a kid I would have never been able to appreciate, but being early 20s, it was fantastic. And it meant a lot to me. And watching those last few years, especially seeing the family come around her, being able to spend those moments with her, lots of laughs, lots of tears. I've had the privilege of sharing with my kids, my oldest daughter, how special Nana was, and I'm proud that she's gonna have the opportunity to know Nana, remember her, have those pictures and memories with her. We've all been really privileged to know her, to be around her, to get to spend time with her. And she's gonna be missed. She is missed. She's missed a lot. I love you guys. Thank you guys for coming. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and bless this time and bless the food. Heavenly Father, so grateful and thankful for this beautiful day you've given to us, Lord. Grateful for the opportunity to be here together with family. Thankful for the opportunity to memorialize, reminisce, celebrate Nana Florence for who she was, for the role she played in our lives, for the privilege it has been to call her Nana, to have her be there for us, to have all those memories of us as kids at their place on their patio. We're grateful that you have given us so much through her. We're thankful that you have allowed us to have that time and to really cherish, to really bank those memories, Lord. Grateful for all the kind words that have been said about her, and the amazing thing that all of it just is true. She was so kind, so gentle, so gracious. I want to thank Aunt Donna and Uncle Steve for those last few years to be there, especially this last one with COVID, Lord. I know they're thankful for the time with her. but I'm grateful as their nephew to have been able to see that selflessness in them and their home and their love for her. I'm grateful that that is in our family, Lord. I'm thankful for the legacy that Nana has given to us as well, for being so kind, for being so loving. So today, Lord, would you be with us and watch over us? I'm grateful for the safe travels you've granted everyone. And we ask that you would watch over everyone as they head home. But just for the time here, that we would be able to just remember how important, how amazing, how great she was. And we give thanks for all those things. In Jesus' holy name, amen.
You notice on your tables there are grapefruits. I'm sorry, pomegranates. Where'd that come from? Anyway, you are welcome to take one with you as a remembrance. And also, my sister has produced jelly made of pomegranates that you are welcome to take one as well, correct? One per family. So make sure you walk out of here with that. And also, don't forget the cards and the memorization of Mom over here.